Good afternoon. We're going to give it a few more minutes and let people be able to jump on before we get started. As a reminder, the webinar is recorded and will be uploaded to the website. Thank you all for joining us today. We are going to be discussing the Community Connect Round 2 Security Camera Grant. As I mentioned earlier, this will be recorded and will be posted on the website. Okay. Today's presentation is going to go over the program itself, basics on the program, process, questions and answers, as well as some final tips and takeaway that would really benefit everyone. So for those of you who have not heard, the Metropolitan Redevelopment Agency, along with the Albuquerque Police Department, have created a program called Community Connect Security Camera Grant. This is a property improvement program specifically for properties in the metropolitan redevelopment areas. And the goal is to be able to connect all of our security cameras to the real-time crime center, which would allow for them to actually have the ability to respond to incidents, also like check the different data and like have resources to be able to actually pursue crimes that are occurring. So the program's basics for this round of the program, you must be in the Edo MR or South Broadway MR. This is a competitive process, so simply applying does not guarantee you funding. This program will have a deadline. The reason why we are having a deadline for this program is because we will be releasing a third round for new MR areas. The other thing about this is going to be a little bit different than last time with the downtown round was that properties cannot be adjacent to each other. So if you're a property owner and you own two lots and they're right next door to each other, you will not be able to apply for both of those directly. You would only be able to submit one application for that whole area. The vendor and contractor must be certified with Genetec. I do want to clarify that Genetec is the software system that the Real-Time Crime Center is set up with. 2 administrations ago from the federal government, they actually received a grant that would allow police departments across the nation be able to connect to real-time software systems that would set up security cameras. With that, though, they selected the vendor specifically. So this was not something that APD chose. This was not something that we chose. This was given to us, again, from the federal government 2 administrations ago. And since these systems and programs are extremely expensive, APD will not be changing the setup or software that they use. That is why the vendor does have to be verified and make sure that they can sell Genetec software system. This program is a little bit different than our boutique grants that you may have seen, such as the Murals of Possibilities or the Party Block sponsorship. This program is only going to provide you the 60% upfront, which should cover your down payment with the vendor. And then you will get the 40% at the end when you have submitted to us your proof of receipts and that the project has been completed. The process is super easy though. Still going to be an online application that you can fill out. I always provide one-on-one consultation. So if anyone has any issues or needs additional support when applying, please let me know. I'd be more than happy to work with you. It does need to be, we do need proof of property ownership. If you are the leasee and not the owner, you will also need a lease showing that you are actually renting the property, okay? As well as permission from your vendor or from your landlord, sorry about that, from your landlord, allowing you to pursue this grant. The application is online, just like all of our other programs. Once you have been awarded, you will have to submit your final quote of the approved vendor. And again, what we mean by approved vendor is just verifying that they do have and service Genetec, okay? Then we approve your agreement. You will send a copy of the signed contract between you and the approved vendor to us with an invoice for 60%. We basically mail you a check, then you can pay the vendor, you get started on your installation, they complete the project, you will pay the 40% remaining to your vendor, and then you will submit to us receipts and proof of all of those payments, and we will reimburse you for the remainder 40%. Once you're done with that, you'll submit a final report. The final report is super easy. Really, it's just a wrap up, lets us know how it helped you, how many final cameras you were able to install, if you saw any additional increases in the cost of the security cameras from the time you started to the time you ended. This information is very beneficial to us because it allows us to change the program based on what we're seeing happen. Okay. So the first thing I want everyone to do when they're applying to our program is you're going to go to the Metropolitan Redevelopment Agency. We are an arm of the city of Albuquerque, so we are the government, which means that we do have to follow procurement code as well as making sure that all of our applications and processes are fair and just and open to everyone. However, the Metropolitan Redevelopment Agency can only work with private entities inside of our designated areas. And the reason for that is a state statute. It really helps us be able to engage with those private industries without engaging in anything that's weird or shady and make sure we're protecting our tax dollars. So you're going to come into our website, and on the left-hand side, there's going to be a little um, index, and you're going to be able to click on Metropolitan Redevelopment Area. Once you do that, it will pop up as this screen. In that little box, you will put the property address that you are hoping can qualify for this grant. For this program specifically, we are only doing the areas Edo and South Broadway. Here on the map, they're very tiny, but it's basically a little gray square and then an orange right besides it. Once you have verified that your property is in those areas, you're going to scroll on the left-hand side and it says boutiques and property grants. This is where you're going to be able to find all of the existing boutique grants that are open to businesses and properties throughout our MR areas. Again, these are not always open to everyone. It depends on funding, which council provides us. So if council has not allocated additional funds or an increase in budget, then we literally have a very, very tiny budget that we have to figure out how we like disperse throughout. Okay. On the left-hand side again, it's going to be popping up as the Community Connect Security Camera Grant. That is the program we are specifically talking about today. This overview will allow you to review all of your different questions. This is a great place to come back and check if you have any additional questions, or if you forgot something, please check out the landing page. I promise you it has a lot, if not all of the information on there. Then you're basically going to click application. The application process landing page will provide you a brief overall overview of how you will be applying to the program. All of these processes are extremely simple and very similar. So all of our boutique grants are going to have an online application. We will always review and assess all of the applications submitted. Once we have reviewed those applications, then we send out a notice of award. We also notify applicants that were not selected. When we do let you know that you were not selected, we also provide either a brief description or update of what you can do to improve your application. so that next time around you can apply. Sometimes properties don't qualify because they're not in the correct area. And unfortunately, that's not something that we can change or modify if the grant has already been released. So then you'll hit apply now. The first few questions are super simple and normal. It's going to ask you for your first name, your last name, mailing address. Please, please, please make sure that this mailing address is one that you actually check because this is probably where your payments are going to go to. So we definitely need to make sure that those addresses and all of the information is correct and accurate. Again, more simple basic information. As I mentioned before, if you are a renter and the property is not owned by you, you can still apply. All you will need to do is add or upload your proof of lease. So that's going to be your lease agreement. And then a letter that is notarized from your property owner allowing you to apply for the grant. And this is because we want to make sure that the property owner is aware of what's going on. Even if you have it in your lease that you can make improvements or that you can modify and change things, we still need to make sure that the property owner is aware that you are applying for this grant and that you are working with us for it. Next, you will be selecting your redevelopment area. As I mentioned, this is for two different MR areas. One of them is Edo and the other one is South Broadway. You will select which one you are in. You will also fill out a City of Albuquerque modified W-9. This is not the same W-9 that the IRS provides. There is a link directly with it. There are also instructions. Please, please, please make sure that when you are filling out your modified W-9, you are completing in every blank, that you make sure that you follow the instructions exactly as stated in there. Unfortunately, W-9s are taken care of through a different department. And so sometimes when those are not filled out correctly or don't follow the instructions that we provide, they go to a completely different department. And then we have no way of knowing what's wrong, if you were set up or if you're still like having issues. So please, please make sure that you are following all of our instructions on the modified W-9. Again, basic information. One of the things about the security camera program is we're really trying to make sure that we have access or viewpoints from alleys, intersections, and areas that we might consider dark and weird corners. That way, when the APD or real-time crime center are actually reviewing them, it provides them a different eye. Another thing to note is that none of the security cameras can be located inside of the property. And that is because, again, we're the government, which means that there are going to be some IPRA and privacy laws that take place, which is why we don't want to have any security cameras inside of the property at all. We will be rating / scoring your application based on these items here in particular. So how many times have you had burglaries? Have you had any issues? Do you have unhoused encampments that come up? When you're filling these out, make sure you're giving us direct and good information, but also make sure that you're not overly providing information because there is a character limit. So don't give us too much, but we want to know what your plans are, how will this work, and what is your timeline on this. The next thing is going to be your project budget. On that first line, I just want to know the overall cost, right? So if they give you an estimate and the estimate says it's $18,952 with 30 cents, that's what you're going to put in the project budget. You will be able to upload the full breakdown of the budget, which should be included in your security camera system proposal. Okay, so in that proposal, the security camera vendor that you have now identified that is going to be working with you will provide you a full proposal. It will have things like the full breakdown of the budget, camera locations, the types of cameras, specs, all of those things. So they will be providing you that document. You will just upload it here. Another thing to note is that anything over 1 megabyte will not come through. If you attach a document that is greater than 1 megabyte, which that is a very small amount, the application will get stuck and it will not come to me. I do not get notified if you have submitted your application and it's just stuck out there. You will still receive the submission screen. If you did not receive an email that says Thank you for applying for the Community Connect Security Camera Program. Your application did not go through. Please remember that when you are filling these out, the number one thing that happens is that the attachments are too big. And so then it just stays out there. So nothing comes through at all. Think of it as a black hole. The application has not been seen or received. At that time, if you see that, I would recommend you either reapply and decrease your sizes or notify me immediately and we will check. Sometimes I can pull these applications up, sometimes I can't. But please make sure that your document sizes are smaller than 1 megabyte per attachment. Another thing that we're going to be considering for these grants is we really want to make sure that we're getting them to people who need the assistance, who are actually active right now, who have customers who are producing GRT. And we also want to provide, again, the opportunity for improvement and investment in these areas that have been either marginalized or have faced disinvestment due to the system, right? So we want to be able to provide funds to those people in particular. This is going to be something that is considered in terms of your application. So make sure that you're filling it out completely. If you are the landlord and your property is currently vacant, that's not to say we will not consider you, but do note that you will have a lower priority in terms of this grant, okay? Last thing, and this one's very important, okay? You have to click the I'm not a robot. I know you're not a robot. You have to complete it. You have to do that. If you just hit submit, the application did not go through, your submission has not been received. Make sure you click that before you hit submit. At this time, I'm going to go over some brief questions and answers, some of the program as it stands. We will also allow for more questions, so please make sure that you're dropping them in the Q&A box down at the bottom of your screen. As I mentioned before, we are a program that is able to work with private industries, but you have to be in a designated metropolitan redevelopment area. If you are not in any of the metropolitan redevelopment areas that are open for this grant, again, that's Edo and South Broadway, you cannot apply. The metropolitan redevelopment areas go through a process and a system to be able to be designated as metropolitan redevelopment areas. It can take anywhere from a year to 2 years for the whole process to play out. So it's not something that you can just request that they change the boundary today and then tomorrow you could apply. This is really already established and set up. So this is for those property owners and those businesses in those areas. As stated, if you're a tenant, you can still apply. You'll just need that permission. When you're filling out your application's narrative, just be specific. It doesn't have to have a lot of fluff. If you're going to put up security cameras and you're going to be checking them on a 7-day basis to make sure that there's no crimes or anything going on them, just tell me that. Tell me I will have the security cameras installed and I will check every Tuesday the video. Literally it, nothing crazy. For permits or insurance, honestly, I recommend you check with the city planning department. Their phone number is listed here. In the past, for this grant, we did not see any additional permits or insurance that need to be pulled. Most of the times, your contractor or vendor will actually handle that for you. So just make sure that when you're talking to the contractor and the vendor, they know to verify with the city's planning department that no additional items are needed. Unfortunately, the grant max award is $20,000. So if your estimate or your final invoice ends up being higher than that $20,000, that is up to the recipient to find those funds. We cannot award additional funds or provide secondary funds in order to be able to meet your entire cost. I will say though, that last round that we did again in downtown, 20,000 was more than enough. And we saw people be able to get 5 to 6 different cameras in the area. It does also depend on where you're at, right? So if you're a property inside of a block that has a business right besides you, to your right and to your left and behind you and in front of you, then you might be a little bit more limited into the amount of cameras that you can have. But that's not to say that the 20K would not fund your program or your project, okay? The footage is completely owned by the property owner, okay? In that case, if it's a leasing, You will have to negotiate or work with your property owner as to how they will allow you to access or view the footage. From our end, there is no one there regularly monitoring any of this video, okay? If the APD needs to reach out to you because they saw a burglary and the sorry, was running through and your camera happened to catch it, they actually have to call you and ask you for permission to pull that footage. One of the big things I said earlier too was that we're the government, right? So we don't want to mess with any privacy laws. We don't want to get in a situation where we own the footage and now that footage is able to be IPR'd by anybody in the community. That is why the footage is owned and stays with the property owner, okay? RTTC will not constantly monitor any of these security cameras, any of this footage. If you see a crime being committed, you still must call and report it. The footage is really there to be able to prove that a crime was committed or be able to identify anybody that was committing a crime. The footage is yours. You have to give us permission to access it. We will not just regularly watch it and be able to send out APD or an ambulance or the fire truck to you because no one is watching that. So please keep that in mind. One of the things I also wanted to talk about is our program is with the recipient who is either the property owner or the business owner. We do not do a contract or a agreement with the vendor. It is your vendor, it is your contract, it is your agreement. So when you hire someone to install this security camera system or to do any of these projects for you, that is between you and that vendor or contractor. We will not engage or talk with any of these vendors or contractors. We will not negotiate on your behalf. We will not follow up with them to make sure anything, the project is going on or anything like that. You, as the recipient, are required to talk to me, let me know what's going on. If you're having any issues, anything that's going on that you're seeing on your end, like maybe the contractor is no longer providing Genetech or the vendor is behind on their deadline, it is up to you as the recipient to contact me and for us to engage and have those discussions. We will and can provide extensions when it comes to installation. And we can also provide amendments if your security camera vendor or contractor has changed. But it does go through a process because we need to make sure again that they have Genetech. If you are a security camera vendor or contractor and would like to be included on the list, you can also reach out to me directly and then I will get you in touch with the Real-Time Crime Center. His name is Michael and he is the Smart Cities lead on that. And what he does is make sure that you have Genetech and that you can actually sell that software and system. And then once he has verified that you can do those things, I will add you to our list that is on our website. We have already identified some of the vendors from the community that do have the software and they are listed on our website. So you can easily, as a recipient or an applicant, reach out to them in advance and be able to get those estimates and quotes. Those security camera vendors that are also listed on that list have worked with us before, so they're very familiar with the system, with the process, and how all of this works. So they'll be able to get you the items that you need in order to apply. At this time, I'm going to go ahead and open it up to questions. If there's anything else that you would like to ask or that I didn't answer, please at this time let us know. I am seeing one question as of right now. Will additional lighting be allowed in the submission if it's required to illuminate an area? Yes, it will be. Lighting is allowed only if it's to light up the area where the security camera is going to be. If you're looking at just doing things like twinkle lights or adding a light post to your property, that's not something we will take into account. But let's say you're putting a security camera in the alley and it's pitch black dark out there, right? And you wanted to add a camera so that the security camera can actually capture video, that will be allowed. You do also already have to have internet as part of the property owner or business owner because we will not be providing funds to update or integrate internet into your property. That is one thing we will not be funding. We do fund subscriptions. If it's a subscription, the subscription has to be through Genetech in order for it to qualify. We will be providing funds for anything in terms of like the actual installation for the security camera system. Anything outside of that, we will not consider. For this program, another thing to note is we will consider parking lots for security camera installation. However, the property has to already have internet and be able to have locations where security cameras can go or where the system will be. Some cases, we have had this in the past, it's a parking lot, right? There's nothing on there. So you can install the security cameras and the light, and then the actual feed or the box has to be somewhere else. We will consider those. We just need to know where the box will be and how it will work in connection to the property that we're actually providing the security cameras. So definitely workable. Let us know. We're willing to have those discussions as well. Sarah just dropped it in the chat too. So if anyone has any questions on the um, vendors and stuff like that, you're more than welcome to check those out. I'm not seeing any more questions. Anybody else? Okay. Okay, so final tips and takeaway. This Security Community Connect program is only open to Edo and South Broadway. It's a competitive process. The deadline is November 10th. Call the vendors that we have identified as pre-approved and get on their list to get an estimate. You will need that estimate to be able to apply. So call them now, get it scheduled, get their estimate. Everything else on the online application is really simple and you just fill it out yourself. No issues there. If you're a vendor or contractor and you are already selling Genetech and you are not listed, please reach out to me. We'd be more than happy to add you to that list. You will get 60% upfront if you are awarded, and a 40% is reimbursement based. For all of these things, though, don't ever feel like they're complicated or hard or weird. Please reach out to us. We're more than willing to like set up either a one-on-one with you, go over any of your questions, help you fill out the application, or do a site visit. APD is a part of this program, and so they actually sit in on a review committee and they let me know, hey, that's like a high area where we're seeing a lot of crime being reported. That alley is very troublesome, or that parking lot is like in a dark area and we get calls about it all the time. So those are things that are going to be considered. APD is going to be like the deciding voice on that end. And then from ours, again, we're really trying to incentivize or support small businesses, local landlords. We're really trying to help the community get active and be able to have the opportunity to pursue some of these criminal activities that are happening and have a way better long-term turnout, right? Anything else you guys need, please reach out. All of the items are on the website. If you have any questions over the overview, what the rules are, what all is included, the overview will have all of those. It's all on our website. The webinar is recorded and will be uploaded to the website as well. That is all I have for today. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. My email is listed right there on the presentation. If you have any additional questions, please send me an email and I'd be more than happy to work with you. Hope you guys have a great day.